Hey, happy Monday. Welcome back to another episode of Party Talk, where we empower leaders in youth drug prevention. Today, I'm talking with the youth crew. Now, from Barton County in Kansas, this team is doing incredible work. They gather students, they're doing prevention, and they're really empowering the students to take control of the movement and really make a difference in their community. And they make it fun, which I love. So please enjoy this episode of the Party Talk podcast. Y'all are in, the Juvenile Justice Department, and you're also doing prevention. So you have both of those lenses to look through, and you have a thriving, basically a youth prevention club called the Youth Crew. And so, can y'all kind of introduce to the Party Talk podcast audience? So like, what is Youth Crew and what y'all are doing? And I mean, brag it up, y'all are doing great stuff. So tell us what's going well, what challenges y'all have had.
We just celebrated 2 years, actually. So that was a huge milestone. We did a big celebration with the kids and with the parents and our stakeholders back in the early part of June. So this started off, Marissa and a few others wanted to get out there. This is community-based, so that makes us a little more unique compared to some of the other people you talk to. It seems like more school-based operations, so this is definitely community-based. Marissa being the director of juvenile services and us being housed here in juvenile services. So it started in June of 2021, and I believe there was a group of about 12 kids or so, 12 to 15. And the idea just kind of came where they said, hey, we want to do something for the community, and what can we look at doing? So one of the really unique features and cool features about Great Bend, Kansas, we don't have a lot, but we do have a free zoo right in the middle of one of our parks here. So for any of those of you that are looking for travel plans to Great Bend, Kansas, we got something for you. But anyways, they reached out. Marissa reached out to the people who run the zoo and said, hey, can we come and pick up trash and just, help for the day? And that was kind of what sparked this whole thing. So she could probably speak more on the first couple months about that, but there were some meetings in play. A lot of it was just kind of laying the groundwork for what do the kids want to do, really propelling the youth-led action, getting their ideas on paper, getting their ideas out into the community. So we got grant funded in October of 2021, so 4 months later or so. And then I came on basically March 1st of 2022. And that's when we started. At that time, we had a meeting in Great Bend. And this is kind of our main hub as far as the county is concerned. This is where the majority of our population is. But we do have other smaller towns in each direction around us. So we set a goal to do some recruitment last year. We do have some programs within the schools, like our All-Stars program. That's where the prevention efforts start. So that's for sixth graders in Barton County, and our grant serves 6 through 12. And so that was already going. We became a bigger piece of that, which was nice. And then the goal was to expand because we wanted to increase those protective factors, lower the risk factors, do more with the barriers for transportation. A lot of our kids can't drive and things right now. We want to make it easier on our families as well. So we went from having meetings in one town to having meetings in 3 different communities now. And we do those pretty much monthly at this point. So we are constantly meeting with the kids, keeping them engaged. And then just community collaboration, building up our team of stakeholders to give us ideas and thoughts and feedback, working within the schools to talk to them about their needs and how we could help them. Obviously, getting some information, working throughout juvenile services. We see kids that come through here and we get feedback quite a bit, and that's been very helpful as well from that side of things.
Yeah.
And, so.
Okay. Wow. So I'm curious, and Marissa, you might know more about this since you were there longer than Tyler, but in the beginning, when you had those first 12 students join the youth crew, how did you find these students, and what was the aim to get them together for? How'd you pull that off?
That's a great question, because even how we got kids to come and we asked them that, how did you hear about us? What worked, what didn't work, and always that we are always using that framework as far as when we're working with the kids. And so when we were trying to decide what to do to launch, we landed on that first June Wednesday, and we actually used kids from juvenile services that needed to do community service work for their diversion programs.
All right.
And so we utilized that accessible resource, if you will, to go to our libraries, our local coffee shops, our local candy shops, our courthouse, where our office is located. It's really in the center of the downtown area. And so it's easy to grab a kiddo and go disperse flyers and whatnot. And so essentially that's what we did. And we've got a Mind Sculpt, which is a gaming place for kids. We hit those areas, hit the Quick Shop, just really tried to saturate where we thought kids would go with our flyers. And so, it was one of those things of, I always hope, come on, one kid, just one kid, and to get 12 is great. And it really was a mix of, the 6 in that 6th grade area to then 6 that were middle school and high school. And so, we divided the kids up and we just kind of had that conversation as to, what do you want for your community? What do you want to do? What do you want to see? How, and try to get them invested in their community at a higher level.
Okay.
And so the importance of even telling you about the flyer saturation is because one of our kids that is, a member now and an outstanding member, she found our flyer at the candy shop. And so she saw it and she was like, okay, well, I'll go try it, And so, I think it just goes to show that you just got to try everything. And even though we try with our social media and presence, and it sometimes seems again that it's like just not reaching, but we got to keep trying anyway, because we will reach them when they're ready to hear the message.
Yeah. And so it sounds like you did, like flyers was a big part of it. And did I hear this correctly? So you had students from the Juvenile Justice Program, they could help you flyer everybody around town and all the local businesses. That's fantastic. You're getting them involved too.
Yeah.
And they're seeing what you're doing. And then that helped you bring together the 12 students that were probably, they're from like the school district and, they're living in town and stuff. And I'm also curious for what was the pitch? Like what was on the flyer that was enticing? You mentioned, make a difference in your community. There's a youth group happening. Do you remember kind of what, like,
I know. I was trying to, let me look to see if I have it. I can see now. Hold on.
That's awesome. You're like, I might have a copy. Yeah. One of the things that I've seen is, social media can be effective, but if you're already in with the schools, having announcements, showing up at lunch, having a speaker come in to pitch the idea and get them excited about it. So the fact that y'all pulled this off with flyers is actually pretty impressive. It's something that I would probably say, oh no, that's not going to work. So the fact that y'all got 12, I am so impressed.
I don't have it, Jake. Sorry. But if I find it, I'll send it to you.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, we can post it on the blog if you can find it and check that out. But that's incredible. Okay, so now you mentioned, and I actually saw in an article, you have a lot of media coverage out there when I Google Youth Crew Barton County. And so it shows how active you are. You mentioned that transportation was an issue. And I think that's the case for a lot of rural communities, especially the ones that I've worked with. And so you've done a good job on going to the communities. Where are you meeting and when are you meeting?
So right now we have 3 meetings. We meet in Great Bend. Like I mentioned, it's kind of the main hub for Barton County. And then we also meet in Hoisington, which is just north of here, about 10 miles. And then we meet in Ellenwood, which is back to the east about 10 miles. And so the communities are not close enough to where the kids can get to them easily. Now we do have, there it is right there. We do have some kids that like they're even for myself, I live in Hoisington, but I work in Great Bend. And that's kind of that's a little bit more common. I think I would say that for the Ellenwood kids as well, and Hoisington for that matter. So right now we're meeting for 1 hour is what we landed on for meeting times. We had been meeting on Sundays throughout the month. That typically happens throughout the school season, mostly because we run into athletics and other pro-social events, church, different things that the kids are doing. And so we try to do that on Sunday afternoons. Sunday seems to be kind of the day where families are more together. they go to church and things like that. And then in the afternoon, they have a little bit more free time. And then during the summer, we moved to Wednesdays. So we've been on Wednesdays since May. And the reason we do that is because we have families that then go on vacation and are gone a lot, especially this time of year. It seems like July and August is kind of when our attendance starts to fall a little bit. And we just want to be respectful of our families. Again, talking about those risks and protective factors, that's been something we've been focusing on a lot over the training, but especially in these last couple of weeks. Marissa and I just did some more training with that recently, and just encouraging the kids that, look, we want you to be a part of this, but we understand it's one of, 100 things you've got going on right now. Talking to parents, saying, hey, we want your kids to be a part of this, but we want it to be feasible for your families as well. We did do a survey when we had our end of year celebration, just to get good feedback from all the families, and ask them, is this working? Do you guys find that this is working? Pretty much everybody across the board said, we like the schedule. We like the consistency of meetings. That was one of the things Marissa and I first talked about when I jumped on. As I said, I had done some youth programs within our church from where we came from before and things like that. And I said, to me, the engagement is the biggest piece of it. And especially with having 3 communities now, it's hard. Even on the leadership team, it's hard for us to meet 3 out of 4 Sundays a month. But we do that because we know that if the kids are going to invest, the families are going to invest, we have to be willing to do that personal investment as well. Because if you only have meetings every couple of weeks and you have 3 communities, there may be a chance you won't see a group for 3 months at a time, minus, maybe some events or whatever you got going on. So,
and you'd kind of lose momentum if you do have that much time in between each meeting.
Right.
It would make sense that y'all are really, really investing. Like you said, I'm curious too, like what locations? Are you meeting at a coffee shop? Are you meeting at school? Where are you actually setting up and having the students go when you'll have these meetings?
So here in Great Bend, it works out really well. We have a really nice conference room here at Juvenile Services. So we meet here. That's actually where we just had our meeting yesterday. And then as far as Great Bend's concerned, that's pretty much where we've met this whole time. And it's actually a really cool, maybe Marissa agrees with this. I think we've talked about this before. We are also working on changing the perception of juvenile services. There's just kind of this moniker about what happened. It's not a, cuff and stuff kind of deal or anything like that. We really want to be more to the community than just what people typically associate juvenile services with. So having meetings here is a big piece of that, because then kids would come in and kind of see the building. They meet some of the other staff members and things like that. And it just opens that more for conversation and for people to go, they're out there really trying to help as a unit. And it's not just what you would normally associate that with. So that's the big part for Great Bend. In Hoisington, we've had a couple different locations. We started off at the local library, and they had a small meeting space in the back. That was more of a conference setup for about 10 people. So we kind of quickly outgrew that. And now we've got a donation from the activity center there. They have a craft room that could sit probably, I would say 40-ish people on a good day if they wanted to. We have 15 kids regularly that come, I would say. So, the activity center, again, in Hoisington specifically, that's pretty much where the youth hang out if they're not at school. That's where the basketball courts are, the weights, all that stuff. And so, small town, that's a great location for them to get to, and it's pretty accessible to most of the community. Okay. And then in Ellenwood, we started meeting at a coffee shop. They were nice enough to donate space to us. The setup was a little bit different because the room's a little bit longer, so it's you can meet there, but it's just a little more challenging. And they were gracious. I think we met there for 4 or 5 months. But they are also a business, and they're open to public. So during the winter months, they were having Christmas parties there. They also host, baby showers and different things, because that's like the only real community space that's in that area. And so our stuff started kind of conflicting with them a little bit. And so then we just moved down the street to what's called the Wolf Hotel in Ellenwood. And that's a really cool place. It's a historic building. They do some community luncheons and stuff there on, I believe, Sundays after church. But it's historic. I think there's some underground tunnels and stuff. It's just kind of the main historic building of Ellenwood, and right there on Main Street. So again, it's easy access for the kids and for the parents. So
Yeah.
All been kind enough to donate space to us. So
And then it's also that opportunity then that our kids, we're going to those cities anyway. If they want to join, they can ride along. Some of them are getting old enough now that they can drive themselves. But even like Tyler said, the other thing with the Ellenwood, the Wolf Hotel is, it does have that air of mystery with it. Like in the middle of the room, there's a man that had died, his story and his coat. And, so the kids are all like, what? So, I mean, it's exciting for them. And they're just like, where are we? What did we just step into? And, so for them, to be able to have that experience. And so, it is evolving and a work in progress and continuing to try to meet the kids at their needs. Like Tyler said, we're continuing the training of risk and protective factors, and to even go a little bit further with that is just how important the relationships are to the kids. And, even from the juvenile service lens and that justice lens is, we know not everybody's doing it. Substance misuse. We know that, the data tells us, but we also know that the data tells us that there is that increased risk as they progress into their high school years. And so being able to provide that relational opportunity for them at 6th grade and into those formative years of middle school, I feel like it's going to have a more profound impact. So
Yeah.
come back to us in a few years and see where we're at.
Right. I had someone, we did a community that's actually, it sounds similar to yours. There was 3 rural communities. We picked a spot in the middle, a high school, invited all 3 middle schools there, did an assembly program, trained some student leaders, and then they were going to throw these fun, positive, sober events for their friends. And so the way we set it up is we had like a Shark Tank competition, So they got to pitch their ideas, they would win money, and then we taught them how to get sponsors in the community. So all this wrapped up, and the first school is in Wild Rose, Wisconsin. They had their first party, almost 100 students showing up to their event. They had a great time. And then what was funny is I was bragging on them, like, hey, check it out. How encouraging is it that these middle school students have a lens where when we interviewed them, they're appreciating sobriety. They're helping redefine sobriety. So it's something positive. It's something fun, energetic, and healthy. And their friends are actually getting into it. Like that's a win. And someone commented, middle schoolers can't drink anyway. And I'm like, oh, please tell this to the thousands of students who are getting in trouble with alcohol and vaping and THC. Like, we understand that, but prevention starts before that decision, And so I love hearing you talk about that. It's like, hey, if we start young, then we can help build that resilience, those refusal skills, these, emotions, strong people, so that they can bypass that stuff and say, hey, I don't need it, or I have fun without it. They have real coping skills. So I had to share that. I was like, this is something that not everybody gets. Parents don't get it sometimes. Community members don't get it sometimes. But the longer we can have them wait on that decision, the better. Yeah. I'm curious for your perspective. Do you have any goals here in the next couple years that are exciting to you? And one specific one I'm curious about, and then just tell me about any of them. How do you see the 3, I guess, chapters of Youth Crew working together, or are they kind of separate entities? Do you get them together for trainings, or do you have any goals for that? And then just in general, what are y'all looking to do in the near future that gets y'all excited?
Yeah. So kind of to answer your first question about the communities, because I think that's probably a very important part of this is, so the kids actually came up with a Youth Crew pledge, and it's basically their commitment to each other. It's a peer-to-peer commitment that they stated. So they made some rules and some different things like, stay drug and alcohol free, attend meetings, attend events, things like that. And so that's really cool because it gives them something to kind of hold each other to, which is awesome. And we're reworking that a little bit right now, just because we've gone through a year with it. It's just went over a year old. And so we've learned kind of what's working, what's not working. So that's been awesome. That's been awesome to review with them recently. But that also plays into, the events and plays into basically their buy-in for anything. It says that, when you're at school and in your community and you're outside of youth crew, are you being a good steward of what you've learned so far? And as far as events and stuff are concerned, so the kids have the opportunity to go to the other towns if they want to. They could we ask that they try to attend the meetings in their own town as much as possible. But if they want to go to the other communities, they're more than welcome to. And we've had a really good shift of that. We've had parents that have dropped kids off in the other communities. So that's actually worked out pretty well, given all the circumstances. We recently came up with a new travel waiver. So now that we can help move kids back and forth a little bit if we need to. We are still limited to the size of our transportation. But even things like this CACA conference we're going to in July, Marissa was kind enough and helped us secure a 15-passenger van. So we'll go rent that and we'll take a group. We took one student last year. This year we're taking 6. When we did the Wyling conference a few weeks ago, we did 8 kids last year. This year we did 16. We had 3 vehicles lined with kids ready to roll. So we kind of joke about that. There was a slide at our presentation where I made a joke about the travel waiver being for planes, trains, and automobiles. We have one of our students that's really hoping we'll secure an RV in the near future. So anything like that, we're, of course, sponsorships and whatnot. But so yeah, we always encourage the kids to go to other communities. Same thing with events too. We have events we've done events both in Great Bend and in Hoisington. We have a trash pickup day that's coming up in August where we'll do that in Ellenwood too. But for instance, we collaborated with Zero Reasons Why, suicide prevention, back in May. They did a color run. And so I think Marissa was out there. Our other youth leadership, Caitlin Sigler with the health department, she was out there as well. And I think they had 13 or 14 kids, if I remember correctly, that went out from all the communities. And so we always tell the kids, look, don't let transportation be a hindrance. Don't let, XYZ be a hindrance. Let us know, and we'll do our best to get you involved, because we don't want to turn kids away. We don't want to discourage them from participating. Whatever we can do to try to help them with that is, it's the best of our abilities. So as far as participation, things like that, that's what we try to aim for. So
that's so good. And I will see you two at CADCA, because I'll be presenting to the youth track.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
It's called Ignite Your Influence. So we'll be talking about, how to speak to adults in your city, how to speak to the students, your peers, influence them, be a positive role model. And just like some of the things that I used when I started my student movement in college, I'm going to be teaching to them so that they can use it on your campuses.
Perfect. Yeah. We'll be, our kids are going down there. I'll be down there. And then we have Holly Boyer, who is she's a parent of one of our kids. She also does Zero Reasons Why. She'll be going down there with me, chaperoning, and we'll have 6 kids with us. And I think we're doing the key essentials this year because 5 of the 6 are first timers. But yeah, if we get a chance to see your presentation and stuff, that'd be awesome. We've been working on public speaking. We have some, Marissa will attest to some of the kids. We have more introverts than extroverts by far. And I don't know if you remember Pitch Perfect, but the girl in that movie that likes to whisper everything, that's working with, give or take a few kids. So working on it a little bit.
That's funny. Well, she was the one in Pitch Perfect. She was really good at beatboxing, though.
Yes. Yeah. We usually use another example of how we can associate it to the kids, but yeah, she was the one that was a good beatboxer. But yeah,
So cool.
Especially coming from the DJ realm, and then Marissa being in juvenile services in this area for so long, we tell the kids constantly, we're like, guys, speak up, state your first and last name, tell them why it's important, because they don't want to hear it from us. They want to hear it from you guys. It's way more impactful coming from the youth than it is coming from the adults. So
right. And I think a lot of times it's giving them a quick win that builds that confidence, because they're like, well, how do I go from being scared to presenting in front of the Rotary Club or presenting in front of my student body? Like, that's like the top tier. Is I have to present in front of my friends. That's actually terrifying. So like building them up from there. And what I've seen is especially with my movement, teaching students how to get sponsors, that's like the easiest win, because they're actually excited. They're like, all right, we're asking for pizzas. or we're asking for snacks or drinks, whatever it is. And they're really excited, and it's an easy way to break the ice, talk to an adult. And they come out of there like, yes, we did, you know? Because what adult business owner says no to a middle school or high school kid who's like trying to do some good in the world? Like they just have such great success with it. So they're gonna.
If they were just really mean, we just throw them out in front of county commissioners and say, yeah, these are the people that make the laws in your county. Go talk to them, bro. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
No,
point presentation.
they've done an awesome job. Again, it's kind of that life experience. You don't really know what you don't know until you go and experience it. We have a couple kids that are super brave. They're like, oh, we could do this on a whim. And then you give them a live mic or whatever. And they're just like, it's the first time you've ever heard them be quiet in their entire lives. So it goes both ways. But they're awesome. They're working on it. We're doing exercises and stuff with it too, just to prepare them a little bit more for that. Because even like with the CACA conference, they're going to come back. We've told them, look, guys, we're going to work. We're going to have fun, but we're going to work. We need to be able to share this with the decision makers. We need to be able to share this with our schools. It doesn't do us a lot of good to go train and then come back and not tell anybody what we learned. So that's part of the expectation we have with them, and they're growing acclimated to that for sure. So
yeah, well, let's close with this if it's okay. I would love to hear from both of you. Just, hey, what's something that you're really proud of that the youth career program or just within your juvenile justice program y'all have been able to do that other people could maybe duplicate, that they could be inspired and they could try as well?
I've been here just a little over a year, closer to a year and a half now. I think the biggest piece for me, probably the biggest win right now, is just seeing the kids that have been with us for a period of time start to get on fire for what we're doing and start to share that with those that we talked about, like they don't have any idea what youth crew is, really working on the recruitment and stuff like that. The engagement from the kids. Again, it's not easy to keep, especially 6th through 8th grade. I feel like the focus is just kind of all over the place, plus everything else they've got going on in life. We have a lot of kids that are into sports heavily. We have a lot of kids that are into other activities heavily. So for them to give us any part of their time is awesome. Having the families as involved. I'm sitting here looking at like our active roster right now. I think we have really good rapport with all these families. We have, I think, 3 kids that have been in the program the entire time since they started this, and several that have kind of come in and out, just depending on what schedules are like. But they always seem to, with the kids, we were talking about this yesterday, and one of the girls mentioned to us, she said, I feel like I'm doing a good part in youth crew, but I still don't feel like I'm doing enough. And to me, that was really big, because it says, we're ready to take that next step. How do we get there? And can you guys put those resources in front of us? And just getting them to take ownership of what we're doing. Again, that was probably my most difficult part coming in last year, was less adulting and more youth-led stuff. And Marissa and I would have multiple conversations about, we got to get out of the way and let them do this kind of deal. And it's finally starting to sink in and get to the place where it's like, these kids have been here long enough with us. You guys know what you're supposed to be doing. You know what you're trying to accomplish. Tell us what you want to do, and we'll try to get you out there and get it done. So, just being the vessels and not the workhorses. So,
yeah, and that's creating a great experience for the students. So that's great. Marissa, is there anything just in your tenure doing what you do now that you're proud of and that could inspire other people?
I think there's lots to be proud of. The world of prevention is hard work, and to have the momentum that we have and to be able to create and cultivate the kids that we have, and to continue to build them up and highlight the efforts that they're making with the state initiatives, our county initiatives, the city initiatives. I think that speaks volumes. And I think that as far as replicating this, I think it's an easy lift. Yeah, one of the things that Tyler just said is sometimes we got to get out of our own way and a little less adulting. And I caught him twice yesterday, so he's catching on. He's catching on. He's only been here a little over a year, and even then was gone for a bit. So I think that it just takes time. And sometimes I say this not just with prevention folks, but also with the juvenile justice. I want more money in prevention because it does work. We have enough information now to do the work with the evidence-based strategies that have been outlined to us by state and federal governments, as well as with the fidelity of it, and those are the funnies of even Tyler is like, I think I've used that word more times in the last year than in my lifetime, and even my stakeholders at my level kind of give me that ribbing of, what does it really mean? It means that if you follow the instructions as written, it will work and it will have a good outcome and a good product. Is there going to be that 1% of outlier? Maybe, but it's still worth the effort. And I think that this is where you go back to that little ounce of prevention is worth it in the end. So that's why I say come back in a couple of years and see what kind of magic we've made.
Yeah, well, that's incredible. Thank you both for the work that you're doing and for chatting with me about it. I know it's going to be really helpful and encouraging to people who are in the same shoes, because maybe they have the DFC grant, maybe they don't, they're running prevention in their schools. But to hear someone is doing as much as y'all are and in a rural location is really, really encouraging. So thanks again for all that y'all are doing. And for everybody listening to the Party Talk podcast, I hope this was empowering to you. And we'll see you next Monday for another episode. If you like the show, please subscribe and leave us a review. Y'all have a great day.